This is a question that, it's just, I guess, for my personal benefit. I noticed online the other day, I know you've said in the past that you've kind of been interested in role-playing game supplements, you've read stuff like that, you have your whole world mapped out. I saw that Dungeon Magazine had actually done an issue around, your books. Dragon Magazine. Is that something that you were involved with? Or?
Yeah, yeah. We talked for months because I haven't played role-playing games for 20 years more, but I'm still very interested in them, and I grew up on them, and they have a big part of my kind of my mind. I have a lot of affection and interest in them. So when Dragon approached me and talked about doing a kind of supplement for monsters and characters set in Baslag, I was completely psyched. I absolutely loved the idea, and some people think, some people said, it's kind of cynical of you to be sort of, cashing in with this, ridiculous role-playing supplement. I'm like, dude, this is my apotheosis. This is, this is what I grew up on. So yeah, I was very involved, and it was a huge kick for me, even though, as I say, I haven't played these games for a long time. So
I'm sure a lot of people out there appreciated it.
Well, I would never be disrespectful to those games. They're very important to me, and I still read the guidebooks, as you say. I still read the bestiaries. They fascinate me, and it was a huge honor to think that people who, think that avidly about the fantastic might be interested in kind of riffing off the stuff I came up with. So I was delighted.
Now you have a history of being involved in political action. Is there anything of that in your future, or is there anything of that on London political?
Well, I think everything I've ever written has some politics in it because it's part of my life. It's something I'm interested in. But you certainly don't. You don't have to be. I mean, if that's not your bag, you're not going to particularly. It's not a tub thumping screed. But there's some texture in there. There's some ideas in there. If you're interested in, questions of, ecology or government mendacity or supposed anti-terror legislation, all this kind of stuff, you'll find it in there. But it's not. If you're not interested in that, then it's also just a story with lots of gunfights and monsters and so I think everything I ever write will have political hinterland to it, political texture, but it would never be necessary to that can't be what the book is about. It can be what it's about, it can't be what it's for, and in terms of my own life, I'll always be active, I'll always be involved in politics, but there's just a kind of constant balancing act, a constant the pull of activism and the pull of writing and the pull of everything else. They all, you can never do all the things you want to do, but I certainly intend to be politically active as long as I can.
And I mean, I know that a lot of times when people talk about you, they bring up, socialist writer. Does that ever get old? Do you think sometimes you get sick of being referred to in that way?
Well, no. I mean, I don't get sick of being referred to it in the sense that, I am a socialist writer. That is, technically that's accurate, so fine, and those elements are in the books. But I do get slightly frustrated about it in the sense that, everyone always asks, you often get asked the same question, which is, how does your politics intersect with your fiction or whatever? Do you try and put political ideas in your fiction? And I sort of feel like the answer I give is very obvious. I mean, as a political person, of course, there's political ideas in the fiction, but as someone who wants to write a really good story, of course, those ideas aren't the driving force of the story. So it doesn't, and also, I think there is a sense because if you come from the left, people interrogate that a lot more. I mean, I love Gene Wolfe. I think Gene Wolfe is one of the outstanding writers of several generations. You rarely see Gene Wolfe described as the conservative Catholic writer Gene Wolfe. Now, I happen to think that Gene Wolfe and I do not share politics. I happen to think that his politics are fairly centrally important to the structures of his books, but that's not a criticism. I think the books are works of art, but people don't freak out about that. Mark Halperin, Winter's Tale. People don't say neoconservative ideologue. Although he is. So I think people are more interested in it because it's on the left. I'm not 100% sure why that is. Maybe partly just because it's oppositional, and I understand that. I'm not upset by that. I admit that sometimes when the question is formulated exactly the same way, I slightly draw breath, But to me, it's never been a big deal. I'm not like a leftist trying to smuggle my ideas into these. I'm a science fiction and fantasy geek. This is what I do. This is what I love. This is what I grew up on. I'm also a socialist. Not a big deal.
Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.